Definitely. Good afternoon, guys. I appreciate you guys being out here with us, covering us. Obviously, we had a disappointing weekend coming off of Liberty and not getting the results that we wanted. Did not feel like that was our style of play up to our standard of what we've known to expect from our program, and looking forward to bouncing back and getting ourselves back on track with where we need to be as a program and where we need to be collectively in terms of our approach and how we play and what needs to happen with this team. I really have a lot of faith and a lot of optimism about this team that we have in front of us. The way they respond, we have a lot of older guys. They have toughness. We got to get ourselves centered, and we got to get ourselves on track, and we're going to take it a day at a time. I really feel like we have the right people to get that done.
What do you think have been the issues for you guys as pass defense, considering the veterans you have and your experience?
You know, when we watch the film, I think it's a combination. We've had some guys at the point of attack where we hadn't made a couple plays where, you know, it's knocking a ball down here, it's playing clean where we don't get a penalty and all of a sudden we're off the field. A lot of times there's a lot of plays that show up after a penalty that you would otherwise never see if you would play cleaner on that down. We're looking at ourselves schematic-wise in terms of just what we're calling in certain situations. But we've had real healthy meetings about, hey, here's the call, here's how we need to execute it, here's what was run against us. Hey, do we like this call or not? Hey, yeah, we do. Okay, well, here's what needs to happen. Here's the play that needs to be made, so to speak. Or, hey, maybe we need to play a little bit more of this concept and a little bit less of this. It's been all healthy. I know maybe sometimes, you know, when you look at the final score, and people can say, well, you know, what happened or what's going on here? The building is healthy. We have a healthy building. We are very objective and clear about where we are and what we need to get done. We call it a season for a reason. And the good news is for us right now is that we feel like our best football is ahead of us. We really feel like we have the right people to do it. If you saw our Tuesday practice today, you didn't see a head down, you didn't see anybody dragging around. Ultimately, it comes down to a mindset, a mental edge, a toughness. The core really of your program and who you are really comes alive. I really feel like when things get a little adverse for you, did not, and that's not to dismiss, you know, a result in how we played. I don't believe that was up to the standard whatsoever, our last couple games. So what do? You solve problems and you fix it. And I really feel like we're going to be on track, and we'll find a way to get that done.
What gives you confidence that this team earn its first win of the season?
Sure, I think people first. I think we're always evaluating the people in the building. Do we have the right people? Yes or no? If you have the wrong people, I think that's where you maybe you can have pause, or where you can maybe some other people may panic. I feel like we have the right people. I think number two, our process. I think our process allows us to be prepared every single week. You know, when things maybe don't go the way you want them to go, I think you're always looking through, hey, what does a Monday practice entail, a Tuesday practice? We need to work on a little bit more of this, maybe a little less of this. But I think we have a really sound and really healthy process that allows us to be prepared leading up to the moment into games. And I think ultimately, you know, we have to perform in the moment. I have to coach. Players have to play. We got to make adjustments, and I think if you have the right people in the right process, people are humble about the approach, you can have honest conversations, then you will find yourself where you need to be when all the dust settles. I know it's easy right now to be a prisoner of the moment and where we are and say, you know, well, you're not where you need to be. Of course we're not. I know that. I'm very clear of that. But we're certainly not cutting any corners, and we're very honest about where we are. But we're also optimistic about where we think we'll end up being because we go back to our people and our process.
Is this weekend a must-win for you?
I think every weekend's a must-win. I don't look at a single game that's not a must-win, and I'm not trying to not answer it. There's not a single game on the schedule that we don't have the intention of winning. Obviously, when you have not won a game up to this point, maybe from an external perspective, people can say, well, you got to go win this one. We had to go win last week. We're going to have to go win on the road. We're going to have to go win in MAC play. We're going to have to do what's necessary. The winning part is the result. I mean, it's so easy to, you know, that's what we want to have happen. Our focus is on what do we need to do to continue to prepare, to put ourselves in the best position to be successful. That's really where we go back to our process. the performance piece on game day, that's in and of itself, that's a different conversation. But there's a preparation, because you don't show up, flip a switch, and say, now I'm ready to play. There's things that you have to do, that you have to earn a right to be confident going into the game by how you prepare. You have to earn the right to go out there and expect a level of play. I felt like our week of practice was inconsistent last week. I told our team that. We're off to a really solid start this week, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of going down to Louisiana. It's going to be hot. They're a really good program. They've been extremely successful, going all the way back to Coach Napier and where they've been as a program. A lot of those older guys have tasted a lot of success on their roster. When you watch their film, they play north and south downhill. They play very well, two talented quarterbacks. They're very physical on defense, and they're playing at home in front of their home crowd. So we got a lot of tests in front of us, and we'll find out a lot about our identity in the next 4 or 5 days.
How important overall do you think the non-conference season is for you guys going into MAC play? And how much do you need this win for confidence?
You want to, I think, you want the result of the win. I think when you peel back the layers of football, you really want to say that you prepared well and you played well. And then ultimately you want to get the W. But the takeaway a little bit from Liberty is we did not play well. Yes, we lost, but we didn't play well. I don't think we played up to our ability. I don't think we coached up to our ability either. So there's a lot of things that have to happen right for you to ultimately get that win. We feel like we have a process and a plan to put in place to actually go get it done. But what I want to be able to say is that after we get through it Saturday, yeah, of course, we're going down there with the main objective to go come away with a W. I also want to say we prepared and took ownership throughout the week. And then I want to say that we played well collectively 4 quarters as a team. And I want all those things to be true. I believe we're making them true right now in terms of all we can handle is our process. We had a really good Monday. We've had a good Tuesday. And then we're going to go look back at practice today, and we're going to get ready for Wednesday and take it a day at a time.
Given your evaluation against Liberty, you did play well. Are we going to see changes this weekend, whether it's in the lineup, whether it's the play calling, whether it's decisions that you're going to make?
I think sometimes, obviously, like when you don't get a result and you don't play well, and like start with the person in front of you. Like we didn't coach well. Don't think what's the number one objective? Like, is your team ready to play? Well, you start down, and you kind of those touchdowns early, and we're not getting the movement on offense. So we're not. We got to go backward before we go forward. Okay, let's look at practice. Let's look at what we practiced. The things that we practiced, are these the things that are showing up on game day? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then why not? So we look back at practice. I had some really healthy meetings with a lot of our older guys, and just because of result, we have. If you look at the history of our games. You haven't seen too many games that really ever gotten away from us. That one did. So you got to ask, how did that happen? Why did it happen? We've had 1-score wins. We've had some 1-score losses. We've had some close games that we've won, some close games that we lost. So I think throughout our history, I don't know if there's a need to say we got to start over, or we got to do something grand right now, other than we have to do what we do and do it better. And I think our building is really clear on that.
How pleased are you with the offense, which statistically seems to be doing pretty well?
Sure, I think offensively we're moving the ball pretty well, but I would say, there's not a piece of it, the game, Jonah, when I'm looking at us, that I'm not saying, okay, how do we improve and grow this unit? We started the game out in 2 3-and-outs, and when you're playing, games where you feel like they may come down to close ball games, we got to start fast and start better. We have to score, not just score, but we have to score in critical times, right? We came out, we scored right 2 minutes into half, and I think it was 21-14 going into halftime. Well, it's our ball going into the third quarter. We want to win that middle 8 section of the game. Well, we come out and we throw, and we have the turnover coming out in the third quarter. So although we were able to move the ball later on in the game, it's almost sometimes when you score too, and it's scoring in really critical times of the game to keep the flow and the pace. And then sometimes, we want to have a healthy balance of playing really complementary football. At times, our defense, if you look at our history, we've maybe had to, so to speak, maybe carry it a little bit heavier on defense and went to pick the offense up. I think a little bit. Sometimes if you have to flip it around on the other side, maybe the offense has to carry while the defense tightens things up. So we want to be able to have that balance to ourselves, where the score really shouldn't get to the point of where it got to last week. So we feel pretty good in terms of where we have discussed how those things need to happen, and then think ultimately how we need to allow those things to be true, and why were they true last week, and what needs to happen moving forward. I think we've had some really healthy discussions. I don't like where we are record-wise, but I think we have a good football team.
You have a very veteran team that help you deal with the tough start, and can it help you try to get things going in the right direction when you do have a lot of guys that have been around?
I think what has helped us the most is that we've had some difficulties, but we have a lot of trust in our building. And that's not to dismiss anything, but I think more than anything, if you trust yourself, you trust the people around you, you trust your process, you respect your process along the way, you have respect for the people in the building, you can have real conversations. Hey, what do we need to adjust? What do we need to change? We've had those conversations, and I think also when you do have older guys, but we also have a Nick McMillan, he's a young guy, a Devin Grant's a young guy, so it's not just maybe just older guys that are out there playing for us. So I think the thing we rely most on is do we have the right trust and the right people in the building? We feel like we do.
In the run game, only 306 of more than 1,000 yards is on the run. You want to incorporate more of the run game into
Absolutely.
sport? How do you do that?
Absolutely. You just make it a point and an emphasis. Sometimes the run game is not as much. Ultimately, yes, there's an end number of your total yards, but it's time on task and it's also attempts, right? We have the imbalance of I would say probably put the ball in the air more than we would have liked to last week. We're not a 60 and 50 times a game necessarily. If you've watched us throughout our years, kind of offense where we're just going to air it out every single down. We know that there's a healthy balance of where we need to live in terms of run attempts to be in the sweet spot of our identity and how we feel like we need to go and win games. You look at how does that end number of pass attempts happen that way? Well, when you give up kind of big plays on defense and the score gets a little bit away from where you want, now maybe you start putting the ball in the air more than you would like to. We have to stick to our game plan. We have to stick to a healthy balance of offensively, what needs to be true about us when we, at the end of the game, you fast forward 3.5 hours, you ask yourself, what needs to be true? What should you see in terms of the balance between run and pass? I think it got away from us last week. We got to get back to a healthy spot.
What do you take out of starting 0-3 last year and then winning 5 games after that can maybe
Sure.
you follow that pattern again?
I think maybe sometimes, I just don't know. In my DNA, there's not panic. In my DNA, I'm just not wired to lose it, so to speak. I believe in a process. I believe in doing the next right thing in the moment. I believe I have a lot of strong mental toughness. I believe you do have to have a real edge. It's a production-based business. We know that ultimately there's a bottom line to everything. There's a number, there's a column, there's a number. We feel like we have the right people to get ourselves where we need to get to. We just have to continue to stay focused on our process, respect the process, trust the process, trust each other, and then perform in the moment. That's coaching, that's playing, that's everybody in the building. I don't feel like that we were nowhere near the standard of where we needed to be as a program, starting with the person in front of you a week ago. So what do? Are you a whiner? Are you a complainer? Do you throw your hands up in the air, or do you have enough toughness to you to go solve problems? I feel like we do.
Louisiana looks like they're going to start a different quarterback this week. The starter who got hurt last week doesn't look like he's going to play. If it's the kid that came in and played very well in their last game,
right. What's
the challenge for you in preparing for a different style and a different talent set?
It's very similar in the mode of the quarterback from Liberty Salters. He can hurt you with his arm and with his legs, big body. He didn't play like a freshman. He played very poised. I thought he came in and it's a good note when you just watch. If you're just watching football in general, anytime somebody can come off the bench and perform well, it tells you that guy was preparing the right way throughout the moment. He didn't come in the game and look flustered. He didn't look rattled. He actually operated the offense really efficiently. That's a credit to their coaching staff. And I think he certainly has capabilities of putting the ball in the air and hurting you with his legs. And anytime you face those type of guys, they just bring a different dynamic, because at times, a la last week, even when we had a guy in the right position and plays do break downs, guys can make plays with their legs, and sometimes those play designs that are not necessarily coming from coaches but coming from the ability of somebody's legs are the things that you can't necessarily always account for. Thanks, guys.